the one that is the absolute worst. There's no points for guessing, but I think undisputedly the worst, the absolute worst opening section to any game in the Legend of Zelda series is Twilight Princess, and it's not even close. The opening to this game is miserable. It's miserable. If you had not played Twilight Princess before, I bet you that you're in Ordon Village for like 2 hours before you get out of there. It's miserable. You have to go and you catch a fish and you retrieve a baby basket and you herd goats and you chase Ilya and you herd goats again and you're climbing up trees. You have to collect enough rupees to buy the slingshot. It is horrid. And then once you finally think that you're gonna be out of Ordon Village and free to explore, then you're sucked in to the Twilight Realm and you're turned into a wolf and you're in the miserable, ugly dungeon beneath the castle where everything's hazy and everything looks dark and miserable, and you have to go again and you're forced to go in this strict line to find Zelda, and Midna's yelling at you and yapping, and you're finally finished that, and then you're back at Ordon again. It is awful. By the time that you hit Hyrule Field, you're probably playing this game. If you've never played it before, I bet you that you've played 3 hours of Twilight Princess. Do you think that that is fair?
Yes. I think that's
Isn't
fair.
it so charming, though?
It's miserable.
New word.
Miserable.
We've moved past ugly. It's miserable.
Oh my god. It's horrible. Like, and you mentioned button mashing. Like, dear God, at least in Twilight Princess HD, there are some portions where you can skip over the cutscene. I think you can skip over most of the scene with Farosh the dragon or whatever its name is. I forget. So you can at least skip that scene in the spring. Yeah, but like you can't skip over a lot of the other stuff. You're just like constantly mashing A to try and escape these characters' text and what they're trying to say. And then not to even mention that you get more of Ilya in this opening than you do almost for the rest of the game, and she is also probably the worst character in the Legend of Zelda series. But yeah, it's just like it's so awful. Like, you're just doing these menial tasks that don't mean anything. Like, I don't know anybody that likes herding goats unironically in Twilight Princess. I just want to get on with my adventure. I want to get to the admittedly great dungeons that Twilight Princess has in the game. But like, my God, it's literally like you are a prisoner in that opening castle. That's what I feel like, except I feel like I never broke out of the cell until 3 hours into my playthrough. So yeah, it is like undisputedly the absolute worst intro to any Legend of Zelda game by far, by a mile. It's miserable.
I think I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here. Sorry.
Let's gang up on him, Al.
Oh,
Well,
God.
okay, people know that I don't care for Twilight Princess either, but I have to admit that the intro section does teach you exactly what you're supposed to know for the game. With the goat herding, that's going to be for the escort mission later. With the fishing, that's going to be for getting the reek fish later. With the castle and the wolf, that shows you how the wolf thing is going to work. The Tears of Light are going to show you how the Tears of Light thing is going to work. I mean, it does teach you exactly what you're supposed to do. Is it long and kind of stupid how they do it? Yes, I'll agree. But it's an intro section. It's like putting Temple of the Ocean King on our list. It does what it's supposed to do.
Those are pretty good points, I think. The issue, though, I feel like, is that it's almost as if, you buy a game, especially for older games. You buy a game and you open the user manual, which is a little like 4 or 5 page packet. It's like this game, the user manual is like a textbook. It teaches you what you're supposed to know.
It's like the user manual is an evil entity and it sucked you into its pages and you can't escape until after 3 hours when you've memorized every word.
That's a little
I
extreme.
agree with what you said, Alison. It teaches you important things. You know, absolutely. It teaches you how to fish. It teaches you that you need to herd goats.
Okay.
But like, let's be honest. You press A to herd goats. You could probably just have gotten away with doing that when you're on Goron Mountain right there. You probably could have just learned to fish at another point in the game instead of lumping it all into this miserable opening section.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I'm not going to argue that it's good or anything because it's definitely not good. I don't mind doing the thing. I'm not having an awful time being sucked into an evil entity like you are, Andy. But I definitely will admit it's just a case of like, why am I doing so many things? It's just one thing after another, after another, after another, and it seemingly never ends.
It's miserable. It's miserable.